Hey everybody, welcome to the World Series of Commander. I'm Matthew McClure, your host, aka Big Dice, and today I'm going to be reviewing the new set from Wizards of the Coast, Streets of New Capenna. Some people are saying it's the Sopranos of Magic, it's the Goodfellas of Magic, whatever your favorite gangster movie is, but it's a brand new plane from Wizards of the Coast. We've got all new artwork, all new creatures, and we have a brand new foiling process called Gilded Foils, in addition to regular foils and foil etched. We're opening a sealed case this time. That way we can see what a true print run looks like on a sealed case and give you guys a good idea of if you want to go out and buy some boxes based on the breaks that you see. Additionally, we're only going to do 2 boxes today. We're going to do 2 additional boxes, which we'll upload the video next Thursday. And then that Saturday, we're going to upload 2 additional boxes. In addition, we've bought one of each of the new Commander decks, and we'll be doing a deck review plus a build path on those videos as well. So lots of content coming at you guys over the next couple weeks. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we're going to jump right in and get going, right? All right, here we go. I'm really excited to see some of these new cards. The artwork looks pretty awesome. Right out of the gates, every single collector booster box comes with a GalaGreeters. It's going to be this foil, full art, borderless. It's an elf druid, 2 mana, 1/1. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on GalaGreeters. Create a tapped treasure token. Tapped treasure token? That is... okay, whatever. And you gain 2 life. I don't know why they added tapped treasure tokens to it, but... okay, so if I put 3 creatures into play, I'm going to get to do all 3 of those once per turn. That seems great. So anyways, so that comes with each box, and they give you a nice little shiny foil. Excellent. All right, so first pack. Let's get rid of some of the garbage here. See what we pull. I will be separating them. I'm going to breeze through the commons and uncommons. That's not really what we're here to review. I will be separating them over here by commons, uncommons, and lands, foils, etc. So looks like our first foil is Ziataro's Envy. This is a Jund 4 mana 5/4 Viashino warrior that has trample. Whenever Ziataro's Envy deals combat damage to a player, look at the top card of your library. You may play a land from the top of your library or cast a spell with mana value less than or equal to the damage dealt from the top of your library without paying its mana cost. If you don't, put the card into your hand. So wait a minute. First off, it says play a land or cast a spell. It doesn't say a creature spell. It doesn't say an instant or a sorcery. It says a spell. You can cast mana rocks. You can cast creatures. You can cast all kinds of things. In addition to that, it has a blitz cost. Blitzed is awesome. You can pay it for its blitz cost. It gains haste, and you have to sacrifice it at the end of combat. So I think this is a really very playable card, and it just says combat damage. So it has trample. If it tramples over a 5/4, it still deals 1 damage to a player. So you're still going to trigger that ability. This card, in my opinion, is very, very good, whether it's the Commander or whether it's in the 99. I think this is a great card to build around. So big fan of that one right away. Right off the bat, we hit a good card from the set, in my opinion. Tenacious Truce. It's an enchantment aura, 2 mana, enchant opponent. At the beginning of enchanted opponent's end step, you and that player each draw a card. When you attack enchanted opponent or a planeswalker they control, or when they attack you or a planeswalker you control, sacrifice Tenuous Truth. So basically, if you're playing like Kingdom or you're playing Treachery and you're playing a team-based strategy, this is really good to drop on you and one of your opponents. That way you guys can draw cards because you're never going to attack each other. So you guys are going to essentially get a lot of card advantage. So good card. That's from the Commander set. Body Launder, extended art. 4 mana for a 3/3 Ogre Rogue. I think Rogue is the key piece of that. Rogues tend to be a bit broken. I'm actually glad to see they're putting more rogues into Commander. You see them in Modern, you see them in Standard, Pioneer, but they haven't really made their debut into Commander, at least at a strong level yet. So this guy has Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Body Launder or Connives. Connives essentially says that you draw a card, discard a card, and then you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So it's going to let you loot whenever you draw or discard a card. When Body Launderer dies, return another target non-rogue creature card with lesser or equal or lesser power from your graveyard to the battlefield. So how I feel like this is going to go is, like Gravecrawler and what's the not Ashnod's Altar, but the other one, Phyrexian. I don't know. It's a 3-drop. You sacrifice a creature, add a mana of any color to your pool. So you just like basically recast it, and you can connive and make this guy huge and kill somebody with 1 turn. Not only that, you're going to loot through your whole deck and dump it into your graveyard, which seems really good in mono black. Hostile Takeover is a sorcery, Grixis. Up to 1 target creature has base power and toughness 1/1 until end of turn. Up to 1 other target creature has base power and toughness 4/4 until end of turn. Then Hostile Takeover deals 3 damage to each creature. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to choose somebody's big baddie that's a 5/4, 7/7, 10/10, whatever. You're going to make it a 1/1. If you got a Lotus Cobra, or you've got something else on the field that you want to save that's a 1/2 or 2/1 Triskaidekaphile or something like that, you make it a 4/4, and then you board wipe by doing 3 damage to each other creature. So good way to get rid of problem and big bad creatures. Very playable. Right out of the gate, we hit with a foil Triome borderless Rafine's Tower. So this is the Esper Triome. These are great lands. They're plains, island, swamps. You can fetch them with fetch lands. You can go get them with spells like Nature's Lore, Farseek, 3 visits, etc. Anything that lets you search for a plains, an island, and a swamp will go get this land. It does come into play tapped, so you want to do those at the end of somebody else's turn. Or if you draw it late game, it has Cycling 3. So that's a pretty exciting thing. You can discard it and see an additional card if you need to. I'm going to breeze through most of the tokens, but I do want to show you the treasures. I feel like the treasures are going to get better just because we're seeing different artworks of treasure tokens. And then they came out with this new token, which is a citizen token. All right, I am going to talk about these charms for just a second. Riveter's Charm, it's a Jund 1. Charms are typically really good for utility. There's only a few that are bad. But this particular one is choose one. It's an instant, so you can play it at somebody's end of turn. Target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker they control with the highest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. That's really good. So if somebody drops an 8-drop Ugin, wipes the board, you can literally cast this and make them sacrifice Ugin, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. If you don't want to do that, you can exile the top 3 cards of your library until your next end step. You may play those cards. So I can do this at the end of your turn, and then on my turn, I get to see 3 additional cards that I can play. So it's card draw and card advantage in Jund, which is really nice. And the last ability is you can exile target player's graveyard if you want. We got a foil Maestro's Charm. So this is the showcase artwork. This is not a gilded foil, but it is the showcase artwork, and at some point you'll get to see the gilded foil. They actually did a raised bead on these outer edges here. It's really nice. So Maestro Charm is Grixis. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, put one of those cards into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So it's really nice. 5 cards you're going to get to basically get access to, right? In black and in blue and in red, those are all colors that can abuse using the graveyard, whether it's using Phyrexian Reclamation to return things, whether it's, Takenuma to return a creature or planeswalker. Blue lets you return sorceries with like Flood of Recollection and some other different spells. So the first ability is really strong. The next ability is each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. So if you need to take somebody out, it's each opponent. So in a multiplayer game, that's actually really good. Maestro's Charm deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. I really like that they've added planeswalker to the damage capabilities of cards. I think that it's important that that they start to go down that path. Planeswalkers are getting more and more prevalent, and I think they're getting harder to deal with. Seems like Super Friends does really well at a lot of the tables that we play with. So we got another Triome in this pack. We got Zia Toro's Proving Ground. This is a foil version. This is the Jund land, and this is just the basic foil. So still very awesome, still very usable. Smuggler's Share, 3-drop enchantment at the beginning of each end step. Draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards this turn. Then create a treasure token for each opponent who had 2 or more lands enter the battlefield. So I think that this deck is, or this card's a chase card that's making people want to buy the deck. Because this is Commander, and it's kind of like Monologue Tax was in Strixhaven. I don't think the value's there. Candidly, you're not going to put this in a competitive deck and get very far with it. I think where this shines is actually in like a Hugs deck that's running white, because you're trying to make those people draw more cards, so you're going to see more advantage off of this. So Smuggler's Share is definitely, in my opinion, a Hugs-based card. Next one is Park Heights Pegasus. I'm really excited to see Pegasus come back, right? Last time we had Pegasus was, what, Sacred Mesa? We may have had a few, but nothing that were decent value. So this is 2 for a 2/1 Flying Trampler, which is already pretty decent. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card if you had 2 or more creatures enter the battlefield under your control this turn. So in a format where we're making lots of tokens, this can actually help me draw cards. So if I'm going wide with a creature strategy, definitely highly playable. So this is Evelyn the Covetous. She's a 5-drop Grixis for a 2/5 legendary vampire rogue. I like that they put rogue in there on top of the vampire. She has flash, so as your commander, you can flash her in the end of turn at instant speed. When Evelyn the Covetous or another vampire, keyword another vampire, enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of each player's library with a collection counter on it. So you're denying all your opponent's cards, and then once each turn, you may play a card from exile with a collection counter on it if it was exiled by an ability you controlled. And you may spend mana as though it were any color to cast it. So it's serious card advantage. It's going to give you access to all kinds of things. You may be able, you're not going to be able to play a land because it's actually casting. But if you hit their Soul Ring, you hit their Signets, you hit their Talismans, you hit spells that help you ramp, blah, blah, blah. I think this card is really, really busted, and I really look forward to building around her. And it's going to be basically play everybody else's deck. I'm going to be playing Bribery, Blatant Thievery, Inevitable Betrayal, Nascent Metamorph, different things that let me interact with their deck and just kind of play it against them. I think that'll be a fun build. The next is Jaxus the Troublemaker. When I first looked at this card, I didn't really know what to think. And then I looked a little bit deeper into some of the different cards that are out there. And the first one that came to mind is Felden of the Third Cain, I think his name is. This guy is a 4-drop for 2/3, and it has Blitz 1/2. Its ability is pay red and tap it, discard a card, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. So let's say we drop a Phyrexian Triniform in our graveyard, and we tap Felden to put a copy of Phyrexian Triniform in the battlefield. We then pay this, activate this ability, and discard Wormcoil Engine, right, to dump it into our graveyard. We make a copy of Phyrexian Triniform, and then I have 2 9/9s with haste. They swing. Both of them will die at the end of turn. I'm going to get a total of 6 3/3 Golem creatures, and then I'm also going to get to draw a card off this. This seems really, really busted with a Felden deck. So this is the extended art. I actually look for this card to be used quite a bit in those type builds. I don't know that the value will be there long term, but it's still a good card. Ooh, that was kind of bent. Don't know what that's about. Hopefully this card wasn't, but this Wizard and this Treasure was a little bit bent on the end there. But you can see how we're getting different treasure pictures. So all right, we got an angel on the back. Yay, angels. Maestro's Charm, we've already seen that one, so we're good there. I'll put those over there. All right, so this is our first Gilded Foil, and I'm going to just move this around a little bit for you guys to see. You can see how it's foil, a little bit of depth perception to it. They actually did this shiny outline border, and it's actually a raised border. If you touch it, it's a little bit raised, almost like the etching that they did on some of the lands that came from Crimson's Vow and Midnight Hunt. This is absolutely beautiful, and I applaud Wizards for doing this. I applaud Wizards for doing this. Candidly, Pokemon is doing a really good foiling process, and I'm glad to see that they're doing this as well in their world and starting to go out of their normal foil process. So super beautiful. This is Cormella Glamour Thief. She's a 4-drop for 2/4. It is an uncommon. Legendary creature, Vampire Rogue. She has haste. For 1 colorless, you can tap her to add Grixis to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast instant and sorcery spells. And then whenever she dies, return her up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. I could actually see this being a commander for a main style storm deck, right? So you think about storm colors, you think about Brain Freeze, you think about Tendrils of Agony, you think about Grape Shot, right? So for basically 1 mana, if you have a reducer, whether it's a Sapphire Medallion, a Jet Medallion, a Ruby Medallion, she comes in for 3, so she doesn't cost a whole lot. And then you've got 1 colorless here to add 3 mana. So basically for 1 mana, you're getting an additional spell. 1 colorless mana, you're getting an additional spell count on your stack. So I'd like to see more and more Storm decks being built, with the exception, without having to do like Reality Chip or Future Sight, Elsha, and Sensei's Divining Top. I'd like to see some viable options based around this. I feel like we're lacking that, and this is a good start in that direction. So we're going to set the Gilded Foils off to the side, and we're going to count everything up at the very end. We got another foil land, which is Xanders Lounge. This is an island, swamp, and a mountain. Grixis colors, just the basic artwork. Still very nice. So this is False Floor. It's a 4-drop artifact. Enters the battlefield tapped. Creatures enter the battlefield tapped. That's nice. You can tap, make sure your opponents come into play tapped. And you can pay 2 and exile False Floor to exile all untapped creatures. Activate only as a sorcery. I think they made this card a little powered down, just because they're forcing you to activate as a sorcery, which means you can only do it on your turn unless you have a card that says you can activate abilities at instant speed. So Unlicensed Hearse, this is a great card, being colorless for 2 mana. I get a vehicle that it can tap and exile up to 2 cards from a single graveyard. And then its power and toughness is equal to the number of cards exiled with it, and it's crew 2. So let it build for 3 or 4 turns, exiling people's graveyards, flashback cards, things that they're going to reanimate. And then you can eventually swing into them, with a 6/6 or an 8/8 or whatever it is. So good playable card there. So we have a Xanders Lounge, this is the showcase artwork. So it's good that we're getting to see all the different artworks that they have. Grixis and in an alternate art product. So this is Rabble Rousing. So they brought back Hideaway. And I like Hideaway. And I think they did a great job with this one. They've made the restrictions to cast the Hideaway card a lot easier. So for 5 mana, I get this enchantment. Hideaway 5 means I get to look at the top 5 cards of my library, and I get to exile one of them underneath Rabble Rouser, put the rest on the bottom of my library. I think it's in a random order. And then whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures, create that many 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Then if you control 10 or more creatures, you may play the exiled card without playing its mana cost. So I think it's pretty nice. This is a token generator, and it gives me access to, maybe I get overrun. Maybe I have a big baddie underneath there, Triumph of the Hordes or Craterhoof Behemoth or something like that. And you can play those cards with that, which is pretty nice. So some fun stuff there. See what else we got here. Looking for a couple of the hot uncommons to talk about as well. So, Keza, Augur of Agonies, 4-drop Esper for 3/4. Cephalid Advisor. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent loses 1 life, and you gain a life. So, I don't think she's backbreaking. I feel like you're not going to be able to draw enough cards unless you figure out how to put your graveyard back into your library to actually take out more than 2 people. But, she's still kind of fun to brew around, right? Endless Detour. So this is an instant speed. It's in Bant. The owner of target spell, non-land permanent, or card in a graveyard puts it on the top or bottom of their library. I like that they're not saying an opponent. They're saying an owner, so you can use it yourself for protection. You can use it as offensive to put somebody's Avacyn on the board so that you can board wipe, or on top of their library so you can board wipe or whatever. A lot of different possibilities that are available with this particular card. This is Dodge Detective for 2 mana for a 2/2. It's a human rogue. When Dodge Detective enters the battlefield, surveil 2, which means I can look at the top 2 cards of my library and put them into my graveyard. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you may return Dodge Detective from your graveyard to your hand. So it's a rogue. It has a neat ability with surveil, and it has recursion capabilities by people drawing cards, which is naturally going to happen. Devilish Valet. This card, in my opinion, is undervalued. This is one of those cards that has got potential to see play. Right now in Modern, the Colossus Warhammer deck, Hammer Time or whatever, is running mono white. I think they're starting to splash blue for Faithful Mending or something along those lines. This guy says, trample, haste, he's a 1/3. He has Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, double Devilish's Valet's power until end of turn. So imagine Devilish Valet's in play. I cast Sigarda's Aid. I cast Colossal Warhammer. Attach Warhammer to Devilish Valet. I cast another creature. All of a sudden, he becomes a 22/13. And it has trample, so I'm swinging for lethal. So I feel like this card is going to see play in some of the more competitive formats. Maybe not so much in Commander, but I do like him in Standard and also in Modern. Incandescent Aria. This is a Naya spell. It deals 3 damage to each non-token creature. It's okay. There's better options out there. Sweltering Suns or Fire Spout, etc., etc. Here's another Gilded Foil. We got Unleash the Inferno. This is a great card. I love this card. This is going to go in every Jund deck that I potentially build. And this is another, like I said, another one of those Gilded Foils. They're absolutely gorgeous. It's an instant too, so I can do it at any time. It deals 7 damage to target creature or planeswalker. That's great, right? When it deals excess damage this way, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to the amount of excess damage. So let's say I do 4 damage to a creature, right? End of turn, I'm going to deal 4 damage to this cat token. And then somebody has a Rhystic Study on board. I can then blow up their Rhystic Study with this spell. So for the capabilities of instant speed, being able to remove 2 permanents from the battlefield, this is card advantage in my opinion, and a highly playable card. Probably undervalued big time. But that happens sometimes in 3-color sets because, again, unless you're playing Jund, you're not going to play that card, right? You can't just splash that into something. You have to be, way deep into an actual deck build. So we got a Gilded Foil that is a common. So we're still going to sleeve all these up. I do feel like people are going to be chasing these Gilded Foils because they're so new and they're unique. They're going to be like the foil etched were. This is Shattered Seraph. Just a common card, 7 mana, 4/4, enters the battlefield, gain 3 life. You can pay 2 and exile it from your hand, and target land gains add Esper to your mana pool. One or the other. Until Shattered Seraph is cast from exile. You may cast Shattered Seraph for as long as it remains in exile. So even though you exile it to fix your mana base, you can cast it later in the game. So pretty expensive cost, but it has a unique ability. I don't know that anybody will actually ever cast it. Evolving Door. It's a 4-mana artifact in green. You can pay 1, sacrifice a creature, count the colors of the sacrificed creature, then search your library for a creature card that's exactly that many colors plus 1. Exile that card, then shuffle. You may cast the exile card, activate as a sorcery. So if I have a colorless construct token here, right? It's colorless. I sacrifice it. I can go get a Land of War Elves or something else that's a 1 color. I sacrifice the Land of War Elves, I can go get a Rada Heir to Keld, or I can go get this Security Rocks because it's 2 colors, and so on and so forth. I do think that this could actually be used in some unique ways to cheat out some 5-color cards, maybe in Dragons to get out like an Dragon or something along those lines. So this actually could see some play in some of the Commander decks that are out there. Vazikeen Negotiator is a 5-mana 3/3 human advisor, has haste. Target opponent creates X treasure tokens, where X is the number of treasure tokens you created this turn. Whenever an opponent casts a spell or activates an ability, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it or activate it, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, then draw a card. So it's more of a maybe more of a Hugs card, which I don't know. In Jund, the only Hugs card I can think of is the guy from Commander Legends that taps to add mana to everybody's pool. So I guess it could be played in there, and you could do some unique stuff, but I'll come back to that later. Another Jaxus the Troublemaker. We got a Rafine's Tower, borderless, not foil, but still we got another Esper land, which is great. So we're racking up on those. We'll do a tally at the very end so you can see how many lands we got. This is even the score. I think this is pretty high valued right now. Just run Blue Sun Zenith, in my opinion. This spell costs 3 less to cast if an opponent has drawn 4 or more cards this turn. And then draw X cards. So it's got singular use where Blue Sun Zenith is target player draws X cards for the same cost, and then you shuffle it into your library. So again, I think this is a overpriced card, and you should dump it while the value's high, in my opinion, to get max value for it. The Devil token is pretty sick looking, and the Spirit as well. They did a really good job with the tokens this time. So. All right. All right, Mr. Orfeo the Boulder, Jund 2/4. Whenever you attack, double target creature's power until end of turn. So what's cool about this is whenever you attack, not whenever this creature attacks. So this dude can sit on the board. I can attack with a 1/1 and like a Ball Lightning 6/1 or a Groundbreaker 6/1, and I can double their power and toughness, Blistering Firecat, Thunderblast, etc. This is actually probably going to go in my my Gruul, or in my Godzilla deck that I'm building. So pretty fun playable card. Arcane Bombardment, I do feel like this is a fun card. I don't know if it's going to replace Eye of the Storm or Double Vision, some of those, but basically 6-drop. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, keyword is first, exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard. Then copy each card exiled with Arcane Bombardment. You may cast any number of the copies without paying their cost. So turn 1, that this comes in, I cast an instant or sorcery, it goes to the graveyard. And you're basically going to not get a trigger. If you cast another one, it's still not going to trigger because it's the first one. So the turn after it comes into play, you cast it, you get the trigger, and you get to copy it. So let's say Arcane Bombardment, and I do 3 visits. It goes to the graveyard. Next turn, I cast Cultivate. Cultivate goes off, and 3 visits goes off. And then the next turn, I cast 1, and it goes on and on and on. So there's some fun things you can do with it, but it's just not broken like people expect. So again, I think this one's probably overvalued at this particular point. Because they said the first spell, I think that kind of neutered the card a little bit. Vivians Stampede is a 6-drop sorcery. Each creature you control gains Vigilance, Trample, and Melee until end of turn. At the beginning of the next main phase, this turn, so after combat, draw a card for each player who was dealt combat damage this turn. So basically when my creatures deal damage, I'm giving them Trample, Vigilance, Melee, yada, yada, yada. Once I hit you, I'm going to draw a card for each player I hit. So it's okay for 6 mana, probably not good. Every set seems to have some type of board wipe. This one's Depopulate. Each player who controls a multicolored creature draws a card and then destroy all creatures. So this is a really great card in this set. This is Voidrend. It's an instant speed Esper. It can't be countered and basically lets you destroy any target non-land permanent. So very playable card. This is Errant Street Artist. This is not the it's not the etched version. It's the alternate art, I guess, showcase version. This card I didn't really know about at first. I'm like, okay, it's Defender, Haste, Flash. It's a 0/3. It's a wall, whatever. It's actually a human rogue, but might as well be a wall because it has Defender. But then, like, when I read the ability, I was like, okay, copy target spell you control that wasn't cast. You may choose new targets. So a spell that wasn't cast. So it has to be something that's copied. And then I'm like, well, Strixhaven has a lot of copies. AFR has Volo. So whenever you cast a creature, put a copy into play. double major lets you copy a creature. So like you could actually copy a creature with Volo double major in this guy like 3 times, I guess, and get 3 creatures instead of just 1 or 2. So kind of a neat little thing. Treasure token, Rhino Warrior. So that guy's a neat little ability. He'll probably see a little bit of play in some type of shenanigan deck. Let's see. All right. A little over halfway done here. So we're getting there. Masked Bandits. Rigo Streetwise. This is a Bant color, so it's a cat citizen. We seem to be getting a lot of cats, which is good. Whenever it enters the battlefield, it enters with a shield counter. Shield counters are if it would be dealt damage or destroyed, remove a shield counter from it. So whenever it's dealt damage, remove it, even if it's a 1 point of damage. But if it would be destroyed by depopulate, you remove the shield counter and it survives. Whenever you attack a player or planeswalker with 1 or more creatures with power 1 or less, draw a card. So if you got a bunch of 1/1 tokens and you attack 4 of your opponents, you're going to draw 4 cards. So that's pretty good, right? Seems decent. Card draw is good. Currency Converter. This is a commander card. 1 drop. Whenever you discard a card, you may exile that card from your graveyard. You can pay 2 and tap it, draw a card, then discard a card, so I can loot for 2. I can tap it and put a card exile with Currency Converter into your graveyard. If it's a land card, create a treasure token. If it's a non-land card, create a 2/2 black rogue creature token. So we got some creature token capabilities. Cemetery Tampering. This is one of my favorite cards out of the set of all the things. I'm a big fan of the Hideaway, but again, I'm a big fan of the abilities they put on those cards. So black is always trying for card advantage. They want to do things in the graveyard. They want to see more cards. So this has Hideaway 5. I'm going to look at the top 5, choose a card, put the rest on the bottom of my library. At the beginning of my upkeep, I may mill 3 cards. Then if there are 20 more cards in your graveyard, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. What else does black do? Black is really good at reanimating, right? With Reanimate, Stitch Together, Victimize, I don't know, Living Death. I'm going to dump my library into my graveyard. I'm going to cast Living Death, which is going to kill all the creatures on board because you're going to sacrifice them, and then each player returns all creatures from their graveyard to play. So I'm just going to mill myself. I'm going to hit my Hideaway, and I'm going to then bring everything back. Another thought process is to run Balthor the Defiled. It's the dwarf from, I think it's Judgment, maybe? You can pay 3 mana and exile it, and when you do, return all black and red creatures from graveyards to the battlefield. So lots of different ways to abuse this card, but again, I think this is a severely undervalued card. It's probably going to make it into a lot of blacklist, and it's splashable. Maestro's Diabolist. It's a Grixis, Death Touch, 1/4 haste. Whenever it attacks, if you don't control a devil token, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red devil creature token. When this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. It seems decent. That is a money card, ladies and gentlemen, and I will be selling this card as quickly as possible. This is the foil etched showcase art, probably one of the most expensive cards in the set. This is Elspeth Resplendent, 5 mana. She comes in with 5 loyalty counters, and her +1 ability is choose up to 1 target creature, put a +1/+1 counter, and a counter from among Flying, First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink, or Vigilance on it. I don't know that I care about that one. I think I care more about the -3, which is look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield with a shield counter on it. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So a shield counter goes on to a permanent, right? So if somebody, let's say it's a combo piece, let's say it's a Rhystic Study, let's say it's my Sensei's Divining Top, etc. Remove the shield counter, and it's no longer destroyed. So it's a really, really awesome ability there. Pretty cool. I'm going to set that off to the side and just let you guys sit there and look at it. All right. This first box is hot fire. We're hitting all kinds of value. Lots of Triomes, lots of stuff. I'm pretty excited about this. Little Chat. This is a good card. Probably one of the better uncommons in the set. 2 mana, instant, casualty 1. As you cast the spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 1 or greater. When you do, copy this spell. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. So I'm going to sack my 1/1 pest or whatever that I created. I'm going to get to see 4 cards, put 2 of them into my hand, and it only cost me 2 mana and a creature token that I didn't care about. So really, really strong uncommon. Feel like that's going to be played in a lot of lists. And these basic lands are beautiful, by the way. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this set at first. I was like, this set is, it seems underwhelming, underpowered compared to some of the other sets. But the more I look at it, I feel like it's a really, really good support set. And I think that there's some really neat things that can come out of this. So excited to see where we go. Crew Captain, 3 mana, Jund, 4/2 haste. It has indestructible as long as it enters the battlefield this turn. It's pretty decent, but not amazing. Sanguine Spy, 3 mana for a 2/3 Menace Lifelinker. You can pay 1, sacrifice another creature, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. So again, I'm looting, surveilling, I guess is the way to look at it. But at the beginning of your end step, if there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. So I don't think this is super, super good, super powerful. It's just kind of okay. It's maybe a filler vampire, but I feel like there's a lot of good vampires in black right now. 4 mana for a Rose Room Treasurer. This is a commander card, 4/3. It has Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a treasure token if it is the first or second time this ability is resolved this turn. Otherwise, you may pay X. When you do, Rose Room Treasurer deals X damage to any target. All right, that could be played. Professional Facebreaker. I don't think we've talked about this one, but this particular card is pretty awesome. 3 mana for a 2/3 with Menace. It is a human. It is a warrior. So it could be Nagila. It could be a lot of different things. But most importantly, when I saw it, I thought Prosper. So whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. You can sacrifice a treasure to exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So I'm going to hit somebody. I'm going to create a treasure. I got Prosper on board. I'm going to sacrifice a creature to exile the top card. If it's a land card, I play land for turn. I create another treasure token. I can keep going. So I feel like this particular card could be a nice combo piece with Prosper and should definitely be in that build. Maestro's Ascendancy. This is a Grixis enchantment. I'm not a big fan of the Ascendancies. I feel like they are, anytime you have a 3-color set like this, it's hard to, splash. You have to build a dedicated deck. So typically the value's not very high, but these actually have some cool abilities, right? So once during each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your graveyard by sacrificing a creature in addition to paying its other cost. If a spell cast this way would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. But I'm probably already sacrificing things, so this is okay. Cut the Profits. This has got Casualty. I like Casualty a lot. 2 mana and X. It's a sorcery speed. Casualty says when you play this spell, sacrifice a creature with the casualty cost. So in this particular case, it's 3 mana or greater, and you draw X cards and you lose X life. If I paid the casualty cost, I get to copy this spell. So if I did X is 4, sacrifice a creature with 3 power or greater, I'm going to draw 8 cards and I'm going to lose 8 life. So casualty is a pretty neat mechanic, and it's predominantly in black. So I like that they're powering up black a little bit here. And then I have to say this. Really? Fish? Gangsters? I mean, I don't know who thought of this, but an angelfish doesn't seem very gangster. Like, maybe a piranha. Maybe something that's going to, look menacing. I don't know. That's just me, but whatever. All right, an offer you can't refuse. This is one of the chase cards. I think it's like $2 for the non-foil. I don't know what the foil is right now, but I think that the CEDH community is looking at it, and rightfully so. It's 1 mana to counter target non-creature spell. It's not an instant. It's not a sorcery. It's a non-creature, so it could be an artifact, et cetera, et cetera. What I don't like about it is the drawback, and that it creates 2 treasure tokens for that player. So in CEDH, there's typically a lot of recursion. So even if you counter it, it's you're still giving them mana to maybe combo off. So I get the allure behind it. Where I see value in it is not CEDH. I see, like, if I'm playing a Cheerios or I'm playing a colorless deck, something that I'm casting things for free, and I need mana, I can counter my own spell because it says counter target non-creature spell. It doesn't say, counter target spell an opponent controls. So I can counter my own stuff with it if I want to, which is kind of nice. Riveter's Charm, we've already seen that one. Mountains here, Crew Captain, Cabaret Charm. I don't know if we've looked at that one, but Cabaret Charm deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature or planeswalker. Seems okay. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. I think that's really good for Naya. Kind of feels like Overwhelming Stampede or Overrun. It gives them trample, gives them that plus. Or you can create 2 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Wiretapping. This card is amazing. I love this card. Probably going to go in a lot of blue decks. Probably going to go in a lot of Hugs decks. It's probably going to be played quite a bit. So for 5 mana, I get Hideaway. Again, look at the top 5 cards. Put one in my hand. Or, I'm sorry, put one underneath this and the rest in the bottom in a random order. Whenever you draw your first card during each of your draw steps, draw a card. Then, if you have 9 or more cards in your hand, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. So I'm going to draw 2 cards per turn. That's epic. It's like Dictative Crucifix for myself. It's like Howling Mine for myself. This is a great print. I'm so glad that they printed this. I think that that's fantastic. So, super fun card. Parnis the Subtle Brush is a 5 mana 4/4 Vampire Wizard. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless that player pays 4 life. That seems pretty good. So like ward 4 life, right? Whenever you copy a spell, up to 1 target opponent may also copy that spell. They may choose new targets for that copy. No, I don't think so. That doesn't excite me at all. I don't want them copying my kill spells, my draw spells, unless, again, I'm in a Kingdom or Treachery game and my opponent is the king, or I'm the guardian and the king, and I'm working together. That seems okay at that point, but other than that, probably not very playable. Corpse Explosion, 3 mana for a sorcery is an additional cost to cast the spell. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Corpse Explosion deals damage equal to the exiled card's power to each creature and each planeswalker. The key thing is each creature and each planeswalker. So I'm gonna exile my 4/4 Parnis here, and I'm going to deal 4 damage to each creature, or I'm going to exile my Galti that's a 12/12, or whatever that I've dumped in my graveyard. Maybe it's one of the Cycling Godzillas, right? That's an 11/11. You get the point, right? You can wipe the board with this particular card, so it's pretty decent. Topiary Stomper, this is one of the cards people are talking about. I don't get it. Like, just play Farhaven Elf. 3 mana, 2 green pips for a 4/4. It has Vigilance, but when it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. But it can't attack or block unless you control 7 or more lands. Like, just run Farhaven Elf. Whatever. So this is a hot pull. This is a Gilded Void Wren. So, very, very beautiful, very, very sought after card in my opinion. It's going to probably be valued similar to Anguished Unmaking, and that it's it's control for Esper. So I feel like that's a good chase card to hit. That was a money card in my opinion. All right, we're almost out of here. Boop. We've got 2 packs left after this one. We're getting there. All right. GalaGreeters. I feel like there's so many of these that they're probably pushing this to see play at some point. Don't know that it really will. Into Deep. This is an enchant aura, so it's 2 mana. It has split second. That means that you can't cast any other spells when this is on the stack. This spell is going to resolve. Enchant creature, planeswalker, or clue. Interesting. Enchanted Permanent is a colorless clue artifact with 2. Sacrifice this artifact, draw a card, and lose all other abilities. So that's kind of cool. You've got an Avacyn Angel of Hope. Now you've got a clue. You can sacrifice it. You've got an Ugin. Now you got a clue. Super awesome card. Don't know what the value is on this one right now. This is the first time I'm seeing this, but this is wicked removal for blue. It's right up there with Imprisoned by the Moon. If it's not a $5 to $7 card, it probably will be, just for that reason. Undercover Operative, the extended art, so it's a 4-mana clone basically. Enters the battlefield with a copy on the creature, except it enters with a shield counter. So if the creature was one you controlled. So if I have out that's not a good. If I have a GalaGreeters out and Undercover Operative comes into play, since I control it, I get a shield counter, so I can remove the shield counter to prevent lethal, which is good. So all right. This is a showcase art of the Xanders Envy, which is pretty. I can't wait to pull a foil, Gilded Foil. It should be quite beautiful. Boxing Ring. I think we've already talked about this one a little bit, but maybe not. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it fights up to one target creature you don't control with the same mana value. That seems like a major drawback. If my creature is 1 mana more, it can't fight it. Its ability is create a treasure token. Activate only if you control a creature that fought this turn. This seems like hot garbage that I'm never going to play. So yeah, we'll just put that aside, put it in the trade binder, and get rid of it. Doesn't seem like something that's viable or usable every turn. It seems very, what's the word I'm looking for? You can only use it in specific situations. So that's not really what you're looking for in a commander game. You need a wide capabilities for countering, controlling the boards, right? All right, so we got a Corpse Appraiser in the Gilded Foil. Very pretty, as you can see. This is a 3-mana Grixis for 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to one target creature card from a graveyard, whether it's yours or somebody else's. If a card is put into exile this way, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put one of those cards into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. All right, again, guilds. Jenny Faye. 3-mana Naya, 3/3. It's an elf druid. If you would create 1 or more tokens, you may instead create that many 2/2 green cat creature tokens with haste, or that many 3/1 green dog creature tokens with haste. So if I have Ren and Seri and I'm casting cats that are creating dogs, I'm going to create either 2/2 cats or 3/1 green dogs. This seems epic. I'm going to play this in my Ren and Seri deck, which I just basically upgraded or have an upgrade path for. Swindler Scheme. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from their hand, you may reveal the top card of your library. If it shares a card with that card type with that spell, counter that spell, and that opponent may cast the revealed card without paying its mana cost. So it seems like a worse version of Counterbalance. So, like, Counterbalance back in the day was Sensei's Divining Top, and you cast a spell, people would look at the top 3 to see if they hit something that countered, because it countered it equal to the CMC. This one says somebody casts a creature. If I reveal a creature, I guess it's okay if they're casting like Darksteel and you reveal a Llanowar Elves, because they'll be like, okay, counter Darksteel, you can have my Llanowar Elves. So I can see some value there. Don't know that it's prime time playable, but it's decent. Angel of Suffering. This is a cool card. Probably an undervalued card in my opinion. For 5 mana, I get a 5/3 flying Nightmare Angel. If damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards. Do I care in black that I'm getting milled? No, I want to get milled. Come hit me for a bunch, mill me out, and let me recast everything or reanimate my entire graveyard. Seems amazing. Another one of the Ascendancies. This is the Esper version. Whenever you cast a spell, if its mana value is equal to 1 plus the number of soul counters on Obscura Ascendancy, put a soul counter on it, and then create a 2/2 white spirit creature token with flying. As long as there are 5 or more soul counters on this Ascendancy, spirits you control get +3/+3. So first off, Spirits is making a comeback with Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt. So definitely viable to be played. Then I like the fact that you can make a 2/2 white spirit for free, and then all your spirits get pumped. So this one's actually probably going to see a little bit of play in the spirit build. And then we got the Park Heights Pegasus foil extended art. So pretty decent there. All right, and Citizen Token. And this is our last pack from this box. Now I understand why they made the silly fish token. Exotic pets. Why couldn't they just say, like, gangster animals or something along those lines? So this is put 2 1/1 blue fish creature tokens with this creature can't be blocked. Then for each kind of counter among creatures you control, put a counter of those on either of those creatures. So I can give it First Strike or Vigilance if I have those counters. Yay. Piranhas would be cooler. Oh, we're going to talk about this card. Probably a $5 uncommon. You should run out and you should buy every single one of them that's on the market right now because it's like 25 cents. So this card is a 3-drop X for 3/1 in Naya colors, Elf Druid. When Rocco Cabaretti Caterer enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you may search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. So I can pump this. Naya ramps because of the green. I can pump this in, go get my Craterhoof Behemoth, go get my Razor Forerunners, go get something that kills something. Like, this is a search spell. This is a Finale of Devastation on a stick. This is a Court of Calling on a stick. This is a Green Sun Zenith. Wait a minute. No, green is only green creatures. This is Wargate. This is a phenomenal card. Like this, I cannot believe that this is uncommon. This should be a mythic card in my opinion. But I'm glad they put it as a uncommon because people can afford it and it's going to go in a lot of decks and make Naya a very viable option. So I'm glad to see that they printed that. Corpse Appraiser, Topiary Stomper, the original art. I like that he looks like T-Rex. It stinks that he's a plant. You can actually see the plant, like almost like one of those things, the Rose Parade or whatever, make things out of flowers. All right, anyways, Boss's Chauffeur, 5 mana for an Elf Citizen. When it enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to 1 plus the number of other creatures you control. It has Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it. When Boss's Chauffeur dies, create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token for each +1/+1 counter on it. So I'm going to enter with a bunch of counters for having a bunch of dudes. When I put more dudes into play, he's going to get bigger. And then when they do kill him, I'm going to create a bunch of 1/1 green citizen creature tokens. Like, this guy seems really awesome. Super powerful. Shakedown Heavy, 3 mana for a 6/4 Ogre Warrior with Menace. Whenever Shakedown Heavy attacks, defending player may have you draw a card. If they do, untap Shakedown Heavy and remove it from combat. This feels like Clackbridge Troll from Throne of Eldraine, right? It gives you that option to not take the damage, but if you don't want to take the damage, I get some value and benefit out of it. I, for one, really like this card. It's very, very low CMC cost and a big payoff in damage, so it should be played in a lot of decks. This is right now the most expensive card in the format. If it was the foil etched, it'd be even more. But Nixilis, the Adversary, is a 3-drop. It has Casualty X. The copy isn't legendary and has starting loyalty X. So when you cast it, you can sacrifice a creature and copy this. Seems really good to make multiple copies of Nixilis. Nixilis. Its +1 is each opponent loses 7 life unless they discard a card. If you control a demon or devil, you gain 2 life. The -2 is create a 1/1 red devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage. But I think more importantly is the alt, in that target player draws 7 cards and loses 7 lives. So how I would play this is I would sacrifice a creature with power 7 or greater, so that I could immediately have this guy come in, do its plus ability, and then my copy does an ultimate. I draw 7 cards and lose 7 life. So feel like this card is very, very playable. Very, very good card, and pretty happy I pulled that. This is Broker's Ascendancy, so this is not a gilded foil. You can see how they did the foil treatment, but they did not put the raised edge, so this is just a standard foil of the showcase. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker you control. This is probably the worst of all of the Ascendancies, in my opinion. Oh, that Angel token's pretty legit. All right, that's the end of box 1. I'm going to tally it up real quick, and then we'll go on to box 2. We got the Elspeth Resplendent, Corpse Appraiser. We got 1 rare gilded, 2 rare gilded. So 2 gilded rares, total of 5 gilded foils. We got, let's see, how many triumphs did we get here? We got 1, 2... 2 there, and let's see, 3, 4, we got 5 Triomes in this box. So on average, those are anywhere between $7 and $20. So definitely hit our money back on this particular box. Pretty pleased with the turnout here, and I feel like we did quite well. So, all right, we're going to jump right into the next box here so that you can not have to waste your entire morning or evening watching me open packs. Again, there's our GalaGreeters number 2. Get one in every single box. Comes out here, so let's see what we get. I'm excited now. That was a spicy box. Spicy. I like them spicy. All right. Obscura Charm. Esper, choose one. Return target multicolored permanent with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Counter target instant or sorcery. Seems pretty on par for Esper. Or you can just destroy target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. So that's one of the charms that I actually like. I'm going to go ahead and sleeve that one up. Cut your losses. 6 mana. Casualty 2. So I sack a creature with power 2. Target player mills half their library rounded down. So I could potentially mill 2 people out. That's epic. Or if I wanted to and I want to dump a bunch of stuff in my graveyard, it is target player. So I could do myself and somebody else. So good. I love all this. All right, so we have Chaldea Guardian, 4-drop for a 4/3. It's a human soldier. When it or another creature you control with mana value 4 or greater dies, create a 2/1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. It also has Blitz. This seems okay, but not amazing. Aven Heartstabber, pretty excited. They're bringing birds back. I'm a fan of birds. It's a 1/1 with flying. As long as there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard, Aven Heartstabber gets +2/+2 and has Death Touch. And then whenever Aven Heartstabber dies, mill 2 cards, then draw a card. Pretty decent. Agnus, the Dragon's Lash. This card is nuts. Jund, 4 for a 3/3 Viashino Warrior. Haste. Whenever a creature you control with haste attacks, create a tapped treasure token. Goes really well with that devil guy that we saw earlier. Goes well with a lot of the phoenixes that have haste. Any creature that is hasty. What is it? What's the dragon from Kaldheim? Can't think of the name off the top of my head, but that dude creates treasure tokens, and they tap for 2, and this seems insane. Can get out of hand pretty quickly. Would be a great commander, in my opinion. Spiteful Repossession, 5 mana. Spiteful Repossession deals damage to each opponent who controls more lands than you equal to the difference. Then create a number of treasure tokens equal to the damage dealt this way. That seems subpar because 5 mana, unless they're ramping, like, it's probably not that good. So that's a bulk rare in my opinion from a commander set. Maybe see play later on, but not right now. Not going to make the cut in my box. Riveter's Charm in Gilded Foil. Hey, so it's cool that you're getting all these different things in Gilded Foil, simply because I think people will try and put the set together of all the Gilded Foils. It'll be a chase thing to look at. Getaway Car, 3 mana for a 4/3 haste. Whenever Getaway Car attacks or blocks, return up to 1 target creature that crewed it this turn to its owner's hand. Its crew is 1. How can I abuse this card? I'm going to cast Eternal Witness, getting something back from my graveyard. I'm going to tap Eternal Witness to crew Getaway Car, and I'm going to attack with Getaway Car. I'm going to return Eternal Witness, and I'm going to do that every single turn. That seems amazing. I love this card. There's so many ways to abuse it, and I'm a big fan of vehicles right now. So there's a lot of different ways to abuse this card, and I think it's going to see some action. Riveter's Confluence, choose 3, and you can choose the same mode more than once. You draw a card and lose 1 life. It deals 1 damage to each creature and planeswalker you don't control. So you could wipe the board by doing 3 to each creature. You may put a land card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. That's kind of interesting. It's 5 mana. That's a lot, but whatever. Depopulate again, where we blow the board up. Falco Spara, Pact Weaver, just a standard showcase. 4 mana for a 3/3. Flying Trample Bird Demon. I don't know how you get a Bird Demon, but whatever. Whenever it enters the battlefield, it enters with a shield counter, so it can protect itself. That seems good. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. I like looking at the top card of my library. You may cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control, in addition to paying their other costs. So you mean if I have a Walking Ballista with 7 counters on it, I can remove a counter and I can cast cards from the top of my library? This guy seems insane. Oh, well, look at that. Lord Xander the Collector. I'm not a fan of this card. He's very, very oppressive, in my opinion, but it is gilded. It is beautiful. People are going to want it. It's because they want to play oppressive decks. But his ability for 7 mana, Grixis, you get a 6/6 Vampire Demon Noble. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand rounded down. Whenever Lord Xander attacks, defending player mills half their library rounded down. When Lord Xander dies, target opponent sacrifices half the non-land permanents they control rounded down. Again, you could target different people with this, but I feel like this is a feels bad card. If your play group doesn't care that you're targeting them right away and doing bad things and keeping them from playing Magic, then this is the card for you. If they like to play Magic and interact with the game, you should definitely throw this card out. Here we go. Let's see. Park Heights Pegasus. All right, that's pretty decent. All right, Cryptic Pursuit. 4 mana for a enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, manifest the top card of your library. I don't know that I want to manifest and is it, but okay. Manifest means that you take the card from the top of your library and you put it face down into play and it becomes a 2/2 morph creature. Whenever a face down creature you control dies, exile it. If it's an instant or sorcery, dies, exile it. If it's an instant or sorcery card, you may cast that card until the end of your next turn. Okay, that makes it worth it. Yeah, that's what I want to do in Izzet, so that seems good. Arcade Bombardment. And we got the dumbed down version of Death Shadow. Obviously, they didn't want to reprint Death Shadow in Standard, but they gave us a worse version. So 2 black and 13, you get a 7/7 avatar. If your life total is less than your starting life total, this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the difference. So could see some play. Reservoir Kraken, huge fan of this card. It's another one of those cards that feels like Clackbridge Troll, 4 mana, 6/6 Kraken. I'm a huge fish fan, by the way. Anyways, trample ward 2 to target it. At the beginning of each combat, if Reservoir Kraken is untapped, any opponent may tap an untapped creature they control. If they do, tap Reservoir Kraken and create a 1/1 blue fish creature token with this creature can't be blocked. So no matter what they do, even if they tap it down, I'm still creating threats that you have to eventually deal with. Such a choice card. Love this card. It's going right into some type of fish deck that I'm going to build. Love this guy. And there's the fish token to go with it. It's glorious. All right. Fleetfoot Dancer, super vanilla creature. Naya, 4/4, trample, haste, lifelink, elf druid. I think they just were like, we need to put some vanilla creatures that are boring in there, and they gave this person their ability. Sinister Concierge is 2 mana for a 2/1 wizard. When it dies, you may exile it and put 3 time counters on it, kind of like Suspend. If you do, exile up to 1 target creature and put 3 time counters on it. Each card exiled this way that doesn't have Suspend gains Suspend. All right, whatever. That's a lot to process right now. Sanguine Spy, we reviewed that guy already. Soul of Emancipation, I like this card. It lets you play with cards that you wouldn't normally play with. So think about this, 7 mana for a 5/7. When it enters the battlefield, destroy up to 3 other target non-land permanents. For each of those permanents, its controller creates a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. So I can target other people's permanents, so I can blow up Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, Smothering Tide, blah, blah, blah. Or if I wanted to be cute, like the Wellsprings, like Mycosynth Wellspring, there's a couple different variations for 2 mana. When you cast it and it enters the battlefield, one lets you draw a card, the other one searches for a basic land and puts into your hand. But then when those go to the graveyard, you get to do those abilities again. So like, I could blow up my own stuff, get a value of either a land or drawing a card, and I could get the 3/3 white angels. So that's what I kind of like about it. It's offensive or defensive. All-Seeing Arbiter, I don't get it. People are hyping this card. 6 mana, probably going in the trade binder right away. The simple fact that it's foil and extended. 5/4 Avatar Flying. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, draw two cards, then discard a card. So I'm going to loot. Whenever you discard a card, target creature an opponent controls gets -X, -O until next turn, where X is the number of different mana values among cards in your graveyard. I get it. It's a looter, but it's a 6-drop. If I'm just casting a looter on 6-drop to dig through my library, I've probably lost that game. So that's why I think that card's not very good. But it'll see play somewhere. Somebody will figure out how to break it, cheat it out faster, yada, yada, yada. But not going in any of my decks. All right, no Gilded, but we did get a Broker's Charm. Broker's Charm's pretty cool. Can't remember if I did this one, so I'll talk about it. But Bant, target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. That feels like a very green thing to do. I also have the ability to destroy target enchantment. Let somebody drop a Moat or a Teferi's Tutelage and they're milling me or something like that. I can destroy it, or I can draw 2 cards. So pretty decent. The foil Shadow of Mortality. All right. Seize the Spotlight. 3 mana for a sorcery. Each opponent chooses Fame or Fortune. For each player who chose Fame, gain control of a creature that player controls until end of turn. Untap those creatures, and they gain haste until end of turn. For each player who chose Fortune, you draw a card and create a treasure token. All right, that's a pretty decent card. I don't know why they didn't call it like Will of the Council or Vote or something like that, but whatever. Another Jaxus. We got an Elspeth, full art Elspeth. Again, I think she's going to see some play, but will be going right into my trade binder. I'm not a huge fan of her. Kit Quintano. It is a cat, and in going straight into my Ren and Seri deck, I'm pretty excited about this. 4 mana for a 3/3. Whenever it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. It also goes well with the Jenny Fae. So instead of creating a 1/1 green and white, I can create 2/2 cats or 3/1 dogs. At the beginning of combat on each player's turn, I may tap 2 untapped creatures I control. When I do, target creature that player controls gets +2/+0, gains trample until end of turn, and that creature is goaded. So I'm going to send that right at one of my opponents. And I'm probably going to have the creatures untapped to do that, just simply because I'm creating so many tokens from casting cats. So pretty excited about that. If you don't have a Ren and Seri at this point, you should probably pick one up before they go any higher, because there's a lot of cat juiciness there. Queza, I think we talked about this one. 4-drop, 3/4. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. There's a foil version. My buddy Todd wants this, so I'll actually sleeve this and set this off to the side for him. All right, Widespread Thieving. It's kind of fun. 3-drop, Hideaway. 5. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a treasure token. All right, I'm good with that. Then you may pay Wooburg. That seems kind of stiff, considering it has to go into a 5-color deck. If you do, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Maybe. We'll talk about that later, I guess. Mezio Mugger, commander card, 5 mana for a 3/3. Whenever it attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. I like that. Kind of an Atali trigger. You may play those cards this turn, and you may spend mana as though or mana of any color to cast those spells. It also has Blitz 3, so pretty decent little ability there. I'm a fan of Atali, so I'm glad they did that. Parkite Pegasus. Triome, which I think this is our first, maybe second Triome out of the box, so we're a little low on Triomes on this box so far. We're halfway through at this point, so we'll see if the Triomes pick up. I'm going to have to get more perfect fits out here in just a second. So one thing about going through collector boxes, you might as well have a stash of... You can't just buy collector boxes. You got to buy collector boxes and perfect fits to keep your stuff. Ooh, we will sleeve this because this will be a very expensive card. All right, lands, boom. Not a fan of these lands. They come into play tapped. They cost 4 to draw a card. Whatever. That's a fun card. That's the Urabrask Heretic Praetor, 5 mana for a 4/4. It has haste. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play this turn, so that seems good. Goes well with Prosper. Exiling and playing cards is great. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, the next time they would draw a card this turn, instead, they exile the top card of their library. They may play it this turn, so they're not drawing during their turn unless they're drawing additional cards. This is basically preventing their initial draw, so it gets exiled. So if they can't cast it that turn, it's just gone. So that card is really, really good. Aerial Extortionist. When it enters the battlefield, it's a 5-mana drop for 4/3, flying. It enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player. Exile up to 1 target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may cast it. Okay. Whenever another player casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. I don't... That makes my brain hurt. Cemetery Tampering, Cabaretti Ascendancy. I like this card. I think it goes really well with a card from Kaldheim, In Search of Greatness. That basically says that you can put a card equal to 1 more than your greatest permanent into play, so I could actually play this card for free, and then I'm going to scry at the beginning of my upkeep and or draw an additional card, so I could see this seeing some play. We did just get the foil Ziatora's Proving Ground, so we got the Jund foil Borderless. Again, this is like a $25 card right now, so that's a nice little pull. So that I think is our second, maybe third try-on, but we're still on pace to hit that 5. We just need to get a couple lucky pulls here. That first box was pretty insane, though, so I don't know if we'll get that lucky. All right, so we got a Gilded Foil, just a common. It's the Shattered Seraph. Again, sleeve these, save these. These will trade. People will be trying to get the full collection. So, Lord Xander, regular treatment in foil. We already know what that guy does. Kit Katana, we know what that creature does. Devilish Valet, Riggo. We already talked about Riggo. Cemetery Tampering in foil, that is super hot. I also want to say, if you get the foil extended art of the commander cards in here, those are going to be chase cards, because the only way to get them foil is in these collector booster packs. In fact, they're usually a pretty large premium to get those cards. So hang on to those, put those in your trade binder. I like these lands. I just wanted to comment on them for just a second. You could do some fun things with Panharmonicon and Living Lands. So Panharmonicon says if a trigger from a creature artifact entering the battlefield would cause a triggered ability, that ability triggers twice. Living Lands says that this is going to enter as a creature, so you're going to get 2 triggers of sacrificing it and searching. I don't know if you get 2 lands or not, but it just seemed kind of cool and unique. Maybe something I want to learn a little bit more about and dig through and find out. We got a Jaxus. Seems like there's a lot of this guy. It feels like they want us to abuse the graveyard and create tokens. So that's good. Protection Racket. 3 mana for an enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. Repeat the following process for each opponent in turn order. Okay. Reveal the top card of your library. That player may pay life equal to that card's mana value. If they do, exile that card. Otherwise, put it into your hand. All right, cool. So every creature can exile, or every opponent can exile my library by paying life, or they can let me have it. So that seems very suspect. I don't know that it'll be worth anything. Again, wiretapping, great card. Errant, Hostile Takeover. We talked about this. It's not a gilded foil, but it is a showcase foil. So may see some play. Probably not that much, though. All right, so we got Rocco Cabaretti. Probably the hottest pull we could get is this guy right here, in my opinion. This is going to be a very expensive card. This is the gilded version of it. Again, this is the one that lets you search for a creature and put it into play. I'm going to go ahead and stick this over in the gildeds. Probably going to get put into a binder and stored somewhere. Like I said, I think it's going to go up. Rabble Rousing, Hideaway 5 for 5 mana. Whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures, create that many 1/1 green and white creature citizen tokens. Then if you control 10 or more creatures, you may play the exiled card. This seems good. For attacking you, I'm going to get tokens into play, and then once I have a bunch, I get to cast that card for free. I'm okay with all of those things. Park Heights Maverick. 3 mana for a 2/2 with Dethrone. Park Heights Maverick can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. That's good. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, or dies, you get to proliferate. So that's kind of cute. Professional Facebreaker. Giada, Font of Hope. 2 mana for a 2/2 flying vigilant angel. Each other angel you control enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter for each angel you already control. Gross. So my angels are going to be huge if I have a few in play already. And then I can tap it to add a mana to spend this mana only to cast an angel spell. Awesome. Like super, super busted if you're playing an angel deck, like auto include. Tenacious Truce. Enchant opponent at the beginning of enchanted opponent's end step. You and that player each draw a card. Again, Play it on your buddy, right? All right, 2 packs left. Let's see what we get here. See, we haven't hit a... Well, I guess we hit the Elspeth, didn't we? We haven't hit anything else so super big yet. We haven't seen the bootlegger stash yet either, so interesting. Seraph, just a standard foil. Zatora's Envy, so there's the foil version. Again, we're still looking for the gilded version of this guy. Showcase works as well. Grime Gorger, 4 mana for a 3/3 commander card. Menace Horror. When it attacks, exile up to 1 card of each card type from defending player's graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on Grime Gorger for each card exiled this way. Feels like Frog Hemoth, except it doesn't have haste. Unlicensed Hearth, we talked about this one already. We got a Rafine's Tower, so that's kind of nice. We did get a Hostile Takeover Gilded, so that's our second one of those, I think, now. It's kind of random that we're going to get 2 of those in the same thing in the first 2 boxes, but whatever. All right. Cormella. Fairy Vandal's a reprint. All right. Rivetier's Charm. Ledger Shredder. Flying. Whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, Ledger Shredder connives. Connives is draw a card, discard a card, put a +1/+1 counter. So it's kind of fun. I guess I should sleeve that, huh? Extravagant Replication. 4 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of another target non-land permanent you control. Isn't there a guy that says if you have 4 of this creature in play, you win the game? This probably needs to go in that deck. Widespread Thieving. Rivetier's Ascendancy. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, you may return target creature card with extra mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. Tap. Do this once per turn. Doing it once per turn is the keyword there and stinks. So, Extraction Specialist. Lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, return target card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature can't attack or block for as long as you control Extraction Specialist. So, all right. So, that's the end of the second box. I'm going to do a quick recoup. I can tell you, it looks like you get a pile of cards here. So first off, this second box, we got 5 Gilded Foils. So it seems pretty true. In a box of 12 packs, you're going to get 5 Gilded Foils. Of those, we got one mythic, 1 rare, and it seems like a common and an uncommon. So that's pretty par for the course. We did end up pulling one... counting up the lands, 2. Yeah, that Elspeth. There's 2 of the Triomes in there. And I feel like we pulled at least 1 more foil, but let's look at that. 3. And we got 3 Triomes in this pack. So it seems like 3 to 5, 5 maybe a bit on the top side, maybe 4 is the aggregate. So so that's it for today. Make sure and like, subscribe, check us out. We'll be posting the next 2 boxes next Thursday. Make sure and check back, and then Saturday we'll have the final 2 boxes. So thanks everybody, have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Take care.